Okay. Hi, I'm Hannah Tovey. I'm Programme Director of Retail Week Live, and I am joined by Penny Parnell, who is Creative Director of Not on the High Street. So Penny, I'm just going to ask you some few questions. So the first one is about the role of the physical store. So we know that that's changing, and then that it's more important than ever for retailers to transform their stores into experiential spaces. So with that in mind, how can we make the experience of shopping in store more engaging for our customers, not just through technology, but things like services, emotions, values, yes.
Well, I think it's really interesting. We're all being constantly sort of bombarded with information every single day, especially from retailers. So how can stores really sort of stand out? I think the first one those you touched on was using creativity. And we've just launched a pop-up. Actually, we've just launched two pop-ups, one at London Bridge Station, one at Waterloo Station.
Where you were an elf.
Where I was an elf, in fact, helping out, diligently putting it all together and helping the team. But essentially in those, I think we really tried to sort of think as a brand, how can we use creativity to really try and engage customers? So there's a brilliant Maya Angelou quote, actually, that's, I think she said, people don't always remember what you've said or even what you've done, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. So it's all about trying to sort of make customers have a lovely experience when they come in and interact with us. So for example, we've got things like, there's a machine on the back wall called the Smile Generator machine. So if you, it says press for joy, so if you press the button, you get a little card pops out and just tells you something funny. So it's not anything to help actually convert customers, it's just a bit of...
so you can feel good.
So you can feel good and enjoy the experience while you shop. So all sorts of things like that. We had, I don't know, things for children. We had one last year there where instead of a height chart, we had a thoughtfulness chart so they could stand next to it and see how thoughtful they were, and just things like that. So it's all about sort of making it a bit warmer. So that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it, I think, is to really think about purpose. Shoppers nowadays are much more aware about where things come from. So it might be putting the provenance of a product or the stories around this, you know, in store, so people can understand more about the person that made it or where it's come from. And the other thing, I suppose, really is thinking a bit more the sort of, well, not so much a cultural fit, but yeah, I suppose it is the emotion side of it, really. And just good customer service, you know. I think when I go into shops, I hate being sprung on, but equally you want to, you know, it feels really weird and unnatural. Of course you want somebody there to be friendly, but somebody that really knows the product and knows your brand, and I suppose it just can really engage with customers in a genuine way, really. Yeah,
fab, great. Something else that we're seeing, and it's a huge theme on the Retail Week Live programme, is how do we reinvent the workforce? So with more sort of Gen Z shunning traditional roles, how can you empower, engage, educate the retailers of the future?
Well, that's a good question. I think really, again, it's coming back to the fact that young people in particular now, from what we're seeing, are more perhaps starting to realise that to live a happy life, you need to be driven by more than just money. So I think that's where we're seeing companies with a purpose really, really coming into their own, because you can go and work for somebody and get up every day and know that you're making a difference to other people's lives or changing the world in some tiny way, rather than just making money. So I think to sort of really think about how we're going to engage retailers of the future, and particularly for Generation Z, is thinking about how we reward people with more than just money, and how they can really get an experience working for brands or retailers who are forward thinking and planning in a positive way, so that they know that they're making a difference. I know for me that's made a massive, massive difference going to work every day, and I don't think there's any amount of money that could be offered that would be more rewarding for me than working for somebody who's making a bit of a difference. So I think that'll be a big part of it. And also the usual things, being inclusive and just really making sure that we're attracting the right people in the right way to get diverse minds and thinkers around the table.
Great, fab. Thank you. And lastly, so Penny, obviously you're a huge part of Retail Week Live, you're part of our esteemed advisory board. What are you most excited about for the event in March?
Well, what am I most excited about? To be honest, there's an absolutely cracking agenda this year. I think for me, what I'm probably most excited about is all the purpose-driven talks that we've got. So it's a real range on offer. And for me, I think it's not just purpose-driven as in perhaps from a sustainability point of view, but really looking at this eclectically to think about positive retail, how we can be more positive retailers, all of us. And I think also on the programme, it's the fact that we've really tried to come up with an agenda that is action orientated. Yeah. So it's not just interesting points for discussion, or, I mean, obviously there's great speakers, you can come along and get some inspiration there, but really so that people leave feeling not just inspired, but really with a set of goals that they can take away and know the sort of contribution they can make or how they can help change their business for the better, really. And I think that's really exciting. I think speaker-wise, there's some fantastic speakers. There's Green and Blacks, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, IKEA, so some great, really big name brands, but also some smaller independents, hearing from some startups. So yeah, there's a great range. Very exciting agenda. Come along.
Great. On that note, thank you very much, Penny. Lovely chat to you as ever. Thank you.